So how's it going, motherfuckers? I'm here with your Smackdown review. So we know this is the show where Daniel Bryan made the official announcement that he's going to return to the ring. Probably going to have a WrestleMania match. It's almost confirmed after tonight. Probably a tag team match with Shane McMahon against, Fat Boy Kevin Owens and Cab Driver Sami Zayn. And I'm looking forward to it. I made my video about Daniel Bryan being cleared, and maybe I went a little bit overboard in that video, putting Bryan over. People were talking about not being able to make it past 2 minutes of my video without throwing up. People were saying, "Oh, Brad, you're always knocking the indie midgets, but you're always putting Bryan over." I wore the hoodie. I showed it off. I started off the video with my back turned and, showing off the hoodie and everything. And, just a big Bryan fan. But I think maybe I might have went a little bit overboard. It was a little bit, subjective. I didn't really show an impartial attitude. Talk about the wrestling news is like a fair, an impartial spectator, because that's what we're here about in the YWC, right? We're fair and impartial spectators. So this review should be fair and impartial. I should be consistent. If I don't like one small wrestler, I shouldn't like all the other small ass jobbers, right? So let me, right now, let me, take off the hoodie, because we gotta be fair and impartial, right? Fair and impartial. I got another one on underneath. See, we gotta double up on putting him over. He's back, baby. Bryan is back in business, and all these sick-minded people, they're all knocking Bryan. Why would you not want him to make a comeback? I am concerned for him. We heard legions on the man's brain is something that's suspect. Bryan in an interview said he's very prone to concussions, and, we'll get to it later on. But, I am concerned for Bryan, especially the way he returned tonight. So we start off the show announcing that Daniel Bryan is back, and as the shirt reads, that was my reaction, basically. A giant yes to that. He's back in business. You saw the man collapsing on the floor backstage back in 2016 when he had to announce his retirement. It's been actually heartbreaking for Bryan. This promo came off very genuine. See, this is the thing people don't understand. All these indie darlings, they ain't worth a damn. You got the blueberry fuckboy Finn Balor on Raw. You got, the fucking Balor Club. It's just, the only reason we're supposed to care about them is because they wrestled in Japan. You've got Naka Murphy. I know that's Japan. It's not the Indies, but you could group them in there as well. You've got Johnny Gargano in NXT. People are wetting their panties over this guy as well, especially Meltzer Magoo. And do we really need to talk about Seth Rollins and, the rest of the goofballs, Ty Dillinger? We're going to get to all of them. But, Bryan sets himself apart. And I never said that I don't like smaller guys. I'm a big Rey Mysterio mark. I want Mysterio to return. He's another injury-prone guy, but I heard he got injured again recently, so maybe it's not a good idea. But then again, here's Bryan wrestling, but Mysterio's a lot older. I talked about Neville deserving more. I said if if a guy like Balor, that blueberry bitch boy, I mean, if a guy like that could get a world title, why couldn't Neville get a world title? You know, and I said that Austin Aries, you know, there's another guy. He had the look, you know, he had the physique that's not very common among, you know, I think somebody asked me about Tony Nese. I don't know. Tony Nese, he's got a good physique, but he comes off as a real jobber. You know, not just because a guy automatically has a good physique doesn't mean he's star material. Let's get that, you know, through our heads. You know, there's things about wrestling. It's hard to explain. People don't get it, but Bryan stands out as different, and this promo kind of exemplified that. But if, you know, I get it. It's kind of like me with Rusev. I'd say the guy has a look, but I just don't really care about him. Even when the guy was super over and he had his streak going and he was undefeated, you guys knew I was never big on Rusev. I mean, but now I'm starting to sympathize with the man because they're making him look so terrible. But, you know, that aside, Bryan is back, and I'm happy for it. Just concerned, which we'll talk about at the end of the show. Murphy defeated Rusev. AJ was on commentary, and man, you know, something about AJ, he was cutting good promos as a heel, just like Seth Rollins. You know, they're cutting good promos, but they turn these guys' faces, and they're awful. They sound so generic and cookie cutter. They don't know how to write. Just because you're a baby face doesn't mean you have to be super generic and just talk with, you know, the most predictable, unrealistic lines imaginable. It's like, you know, if you were writing a comic book with the most generic superhero in mind, I mean, I don't even think they would say half this shit. You know, too much of a goody two-shoes, you know, no, in 2018, I just don't see how they could write lines like this. It must have been in AJ's ear through the whole fucking thing. And so Murphy is fighting off not only Rusev, but Aiden English as well. So not only is Aiden English with a similar physique to Rusev, to Murphy, but he's also fending off the giant powerlifter Rusev as well. And I'm sorry, I'm just not buying it. I feel bad for Rusev taking a fucking loss to Murphy here, of all people. Straight up a clean loss to him. I mean, it's shameful. I mean, this guy they just jobbed the man out like it's nobody's business. I mean, you know, I understand Murphy's the Royal Rumble winner, but beating Rusev like a sack of garbage. And, you know, you look at this and you look at it on your TV and you're like, what did I just witness? How is that even like humanly possible? How would a guy that looks like Murphy be able to dispatch a guy that looks like Rusev? It's just. And then AJ's like very gingerly trying to help him out, but like I said, Murphy fended him off. Backstage, they have a little interaction. Murphy struggles once again with the English language, and it was one of those moments when I had to think for a couple of seconds, what did he just say? And, you know, but this is becoming a common thread. I'm getting bored of even discussing it already. Because, I mean, it's like the same thing every show, basically, what we're seeing. The same thing every single show. We're seeing it every single time. You know, they're forcing the man to speak. And it's funny. It's like you've got the same thing going on Raw with Asuka. And speaking of Asuka, you know, let's move on a little bit so we could talk about that. But first, Baron Corbin. Oh, remember him? Yeah, he wasn't there last week, but he was at the pay-per-view, but they didn't even feature him. Ty Dillinger gets beat. They botched the spot, and they went back to the spot, and the match was over. People were complaining that Ty's being buried, as he should. I don't understand. Why are people so behind this Ty Dillinger guy? The perfect 10 gimmick doesn't get any lamer or generic. He's a perfect 10. Why? You take one look at Ty Dillinger, and you see that he's anything but a perfect 10. I mean, you look at him, it's not even like he's a guy that has movie star good looks or anything like that. It's not like he's that great of a wrestler, like he does anything so fantastic in the ring. No promo skills. The most entertaining thing I've seen this guy doing is when he was underneath the table for the Breezango segment and he stole the Eggo waffles. That was about the only thing that was entertaining about him. I mean, it's pretty pathetic. I mean, here he is supposed to be a reputable wrestler, and they keep bringing this guy out like he's a big deal, but then he just ends up losing. What is the point? He's like a high-profile jobber or something? But I don't really see why. And Corbin, it's like there's no plans for Corbin either, right? You know, you have him near the world title. He's holding on to the Money in the Bank, and I know they're punishing him because of the stuff he said on Twitter. And, you know, he's kind of involved in some type of weird thing. The NFL lawsuit, he made some comments, and so they're kind of punishing him. So he's in some weird, like, alternate world where they like Corbin because of his size and he's got a good look to him. And I always said, Corbin should be up there. He shows a lot of promise, and I'm behind the guy, but you know, they're also holding this NFL thing against him at the same time, and it's not even really clear-cut why they're doing that. Oh, you're not allowed to say certain things, but you know, other wrestlers are allowed to say certain things online. I mean, like, we're talking about wrestlers that I know, like, the age of kayfabe is dead, but we're talking about wrestlers that just downright make themselves look foolish. Like, you know, like they're selling this whole idea online that these wrestlers are, you know, like the women's wrestlers are role models and everything. And I'm looking. Somebody posted a photo of Asuka. She's on Instagram, posting a sexy photo of herself. And she was supposed to have this whole gimmick, you know, especially now that she's the Empress and she's so tough, like she's this stiff worker that can kick everybody's ass. And then she's like posing, you know, like laying down on a bed like all sexy and stuff on Instagram. And I'm like, you know, this is supposed to be the Empress of Tomorrow. You know, she's the one that strikes fear. She has this big shriek, and here she is kind of just acting like a total thought. Yeah, that's right, they said a thought, you know, on over there on Instagram. You know, and, you know, we're supposed to, like, ignore all that stuff. And trust me, I've also got a rant I'm going to do after this that was requested by one of my subs about what's going on in this mixed match challenge thing. So, you know, we're going to get to that in another video. But point I'm trying to make here is, you know, certain people are held to a certain standard and others aren't. Whether it's by their own hand, I just don't get it. But I don't think Corbin's going to have a match at Mania. They're going to stick him in that Andre the Giant Memorial Battle. I mean, like, what is even the point of having this Battle Royal? First of all, it's a disgrace to the legend of Andre the Giant, who was one of the most over wrestlers of all time. A true legend in every sense of the word. I mean, when you say legend, it's not even like Andre's one of my favorites, but it's a guy you got to respect. Such rich history from that man. And you know, to have these guys go in this Battle Royal with his name attached to it, like they're supposed to be honoring him. It's not even on the main show anymore. It's a disgrace to his name. The guy who main evented WrestleMania 3 with fucking Hulk Hogan, and his name is relegated to a pre-show match? A pre-show match for the guy who main evented. You know, and so far, who's the last guy who won that Battle Royal that's supposed to have all that prestige, and they go out of their way of making a whole trophy for the winner? It was Mojo Rawley, who we haven't even seen in months. What was the last time? The U.S. title tournament thing? That was the last time we saw him. So you could see, you know, how much effort they put into these winners. And so we're going to probably see both guys there. I mean, this is the anticipation, right, for all these guys that had all these bills, right? We bring up the Revival from NXT. Oh, they're the top guys, and they're not even going to be on the main card. What are Ty Dillinger's plans for me? Oh, you know, he might win the Memorial Battle Royal. We know he won't. You know, Corbin's already won it, and he's done nothing. So we know he's not going to win it again. Then we get Natalya defeating Charlotte. So we get a big-ass fucking powerbomb from Natalya to Charlotte. That thing looked like she could have legit went through the fucking mat. That's absolutely not the end of the match. The match goes on even after a big spot like that. You're going to tell me that the match is not going to end? After a massive powerbomb like that, flooring her, the match, she kicks out of it. Okay, and then we get like a big spot, like some superplex, and then once again, Carmella comes out to cash in, another failed attempt. This is like the fourth or fifth. Okay, I'm getting real sick and tired of watching this already. Failed attempt after failed attempt. So the time when she does cash in, it's going to be a success. I don't even care. What happened? Carmella was, remember last year at Money in the Bank, she was cutting better promos than these girls. She was cutting better promos than Charlotte. And now she doesn't even get a mic. They don't even let the girl talk. They fire Ellsworth. They completely de-push her. And it's like she's supposed to be like the next champion. And I don't get this. I mean, like, I know the way how they book this, and I've already said I get the logic. I understand the logic, but the logic is horrible. They always do this, and they've done it with Seth Rollins. And they've done it with every other single Money in the Bank winner, except for the very early ones, like Edge, for example, when they were actually booked strong. But that was, a different time, according to Road Dogg. Okay. All right, Road Dogg, it was a different time, right? So there was a time years ago when things used to be good, so now it's a different time, so everything has to suck. So that makes a lot of sense, right? Because it was years ago, because God forbid in 2018, I mean, why should things get better, right? Forget about things being as good. Why do things have to get worse? Why can't they get better? I mean, as the years advance, shouldn't the product as well? But no, by all means, the thing is, people got to understand, they're a publicly traded company. They've been a publicly traded company since like 2001, right? When did these guys depart from Titan Sports? It was like 2000, 2001, and they started really big time marketing, and they opened up the restaurant in Times Square and all this stuff. So people act like, all of a sudden the product got PG, the product started taking an unappealing turn. They've been publicly traded. They've been schmoozing with Hollywood since fucking day one, since WrestleMania 1. So I don't get where, they might have not been publicly traded back then, but for fuck's sakes, I mean, why does the product have to suffer? You've got all these companies that are publicly traded, but, they don't suck, but this one does. So anyway, you've got this whole concept that they try to make the Money in the Bank winner look weak, so then it's like a big surprise when they win it. Instead of the original logic where someone is strong, and and so then when they do eventually win the title, it's going to really mean something, as opposed to someone looking like a jobber coming out of nowhere and winning it. So that's what it's going to be when Carmella does win it. They've already worn it out. I could see 1 or 2 failed attempts, but now it's like getting a bit ridiculous. She's held this thing now for 8, 9 months or something like that, and she still hasn't fucking won it. So I don't know what they're waiting for. They keep booking the same style of spot at the end of every match. And, keep in mind all these big moves. Charlotte gets rolled up. She gets schoolboyed from behind. And Natalya pins her like that. So what they're doing here is, somebody had already said this already, it's New Japan style booking, and I've seen this also in Ring of Honor. They said New Japan, but when I used to go to ROH, I saw the same exact shit from them. They will hit each other with everything but the kitchen sink. We'll see fucking pile drivers from the top rope, power bombs through tables, crazy looking flips from everywhere around the arena, and then the match will end with the most elementary of moves, which is probably the lamest, most anticlimactic thing. But for some reason, it will be super over with the marks. Yeah, I don't know what it's supposed to be like. Oh, well, you just, he caught this. The roll up is like, I don't know. To me, the roll up nowadays looks like it's even more powerful than a fucking power bomb from the top rope. Because I've seen people kicking out of fucking 1,000 power bombs from last year alone. I mean, from the last couple of years, they've gotten ridiculous. No one even has a finisher anymore. Everything just ends in the most anticlimactic of fashions. People getting beat like that from a fucking roll-up. And I understand that that's how Macho Man and Steamboat ended, but don't even compare anything to that match, for God's sakes. So, it's also really brilliant to have Charlotte losing right before her big match, against Asuka. And Asuka's not even fucking there. She's not even on the show. She's on Raw. So why would you see on SmackDown that she's going to be challenging? She's going to be challenging Charlotte, and meanwhile she's wrestling Alexa Bliss on Raw. What kind of a booking is this? Who is writing this show? It's Road Dogg, I guess. And one funny thing is, you had this clip online where Road Dogg goes into the office. It was some shit that he put up online where he goes, "Oh, I'm headed in here to go ruin SmackDown." Yeah, that's exactly what you're going in there to do, pal. And I've already said it. It's not totally Road Dogg's fault. This falls on top brass. This falls on McMahon at the end of the day. This falls on all of creative. Where is the quality control? I really doubt that a guy like Road Dogg really thinks the way he does. It was a different time. He was the most entertaining and over things in the Attitude Era. So how the fuck could he just think that this is like acceptable? There's no way. There's no fuck. The guy just wants to have a job there. So he's acting as pro WWE as he possibly can, to the point where it's almost, nauseating. Harper defeated one of the Uso brothers. And this was, again, horrible fucking booking. But why was, whoever this was, Jay or Jimmy, I don't even know. Why the fuck was he giving a problem for Harper? Harper should be killing this guy. Aren't they, supposed to be, almost invincible? They're destroying all these people. And to see Harper getting taken off his feet so many times, I mean, Harper did win. But it's this is a one-on-one match. Harper towering over the Uso brother. He should have just creamed this guy right out of the gate with that clothesline. They shouldn't have even given him any offense. They should have made it's going to be dire straits at Mania, that they have no hope. But instead, You know, we got to have a 50-50 match. Everything's got to be a close call match. I don't get it. Like, they don't want to build anybody. Even when they start building somebody up, like with the Bludgeon Brothers, they want to have this whole gimmick, to go through the trouble of reinventing them, and then they have like a nice 50-50 wrestling match. Orton, Jinder, and Bobby Roode have a little segment here. You know, Jinder, I don't get it. After they have Orton saying that nobody takes Jinder seriously because he has the Singh brother backing him up, he pushes the Singh brother into Orton and just bails out of the ring. So instead of finally making, you know, maybe Jinder would get upset maybe and just start kicking ass, but no, instead, you know, they kind of re-solidify any questionable stuff that they had with Jinder. You know, you have all these goofballs like What Culture trying to take away from the legitimacy of Jinder. To me, Jinder is like the only legit heel on there. He's the only guy that makes a fucking effort. I mean, he's making more of an effort than Bobby Roode, for Christ's sakes. I mean, at least going beyond a catchphrase, at least the guy makes facial expressions. He tries to get over his character, which is more than I could say for most of the roster. Becky Lynch and Naomi defeated the Riot Squad. Is anybody caring here? No. In the last segment, Daniel Bryan calls out Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, and he fires them. And then they proceed to start kicking Bryan's ass. Bryan makes a comeback. He fucking drop kicks them, doing the shit that he did in the past, where he's like landing on his neck and shit. I mean, oh my God. I mean, I remember when Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle had their neck surgeries, they at least made an effort to change how they were doing the German suplexes. Like, they'd start like kind of stepping to the side a little bit, you know, so they would avoid falling on this part of their neck. Oh, I'm mentioning Chris Benoit, and all the fans are going to start, you know, all the defenders are going to start coming out of the woodwork. Okay, let's not let that happen here. But, you know, at least they made some efforts to try to, like, lessen the blow. Now, Bryan's going full force. I'm just going to say it right now, guys, as happy as I am, I don't know how this guy is going to stay healthy doing what he does. I appreciate him, like I said, such a genuine guy. He's a genuine star. And I don't think, you know, and that's what I like. I like that the Smarks are, you know, not all for Bryan, that they want to see other guys. And I don't get it. That's how I know he's truly great, because you have all these Mamalukes talking shit about him. Which is very weird, because Bryan was like an indie god. Even when I was into Ring of Honor, I mean, Bryan, even when he was a skinny little nothing, you could tell that this guy was over with the crowd. He was a legit heel. He worked the crowd very well. And I remember that people would chant boring at Daniel Bryan. And why would they chant boring at Daniel Bryan? Because the guy wanted to mat wrestle. Believe it or not, I'm going to say this right now. Bryan started doing more high-flying shit when he got to WWE. Because when he was I mean, and it might have also been because he was working as a heel for most of his ROH run. I don't think a lot of people realize this who didn't used to watch a lot of ROH or go to shows. Bryan would work a heavy mat style. He's throwing a drop kick here and there. He'd do the headbutt from the top. But he wasn't doing those suicide dives and shit like that. That came in WWE. I never seen him do that spot ever. Before he got to WWE, when he started doing that shit, he'd start doing that during the Shield matches. Running for the suicide dive and hitting his, you know, and you have the other wrestler step out of the way and he'd slam it like neck first into the barricade. They didn't used to do that in ROH. And if he did, I missed those shows, and, you know, maybe I'm being a bit inaccurate here, but I just noticed he's it's, you know, it's weird because the Indies is usually the place where they don't give a fuck. Everyone's flying all over the place because they're just hoping somebody's going to take notice of them and they'll make it to the big leagues. But, you know, I don't know why Bryan is still doing those drop kicks. He's, you know, I said this a long time ago. Bryan is a great mat wrestler. He's very believable when he does the holds and everything. As you know, again, this guy trained in MMA as well, so you know, you guys like to put over Naka Murphy and Oscar for their MMA abilities. Well, Bryan has that going for him as well, so I don't know why he doesn't get ample credit for that. So there's no reason that he needs to keep doing this shit, you know, just so he could get all the marks and the audience excited. You know, he could go back to his ROH style and still be able to work a crowd well. That was the thing that drew me to him in ROH. The man knew how to work a crowd, and I understand he's a baby face now, so maybe, you know, he wants to do those crowd-pleasing moves, but, you know, Bret Hart was able to, you know, get a crowd behind him. All these other baby faces, you know, that also were technically sound, were able to get a crowd behind them, and they didn't need to do all that fancy shit. I'm saying it's great that Bryan throws that in there as well. He's an athletic guy, and he wants to pop the crowd. I get it, but it's not necessary. And he already proved. I know I always say it's a different game, but you know, he used to piss off the marks, is what I'm saying. That's what I mean when he used to work off the crowd. It's a better consensus. If you piss off an indie crowd, there is a good chance that will work in the big leagues. Because I have noticed what people hate in the indies always seems to work on the big stage. Like, you know, they don't like that sports entertainment. They don't like the characters and the gimmicks and everything. Like, that's how it was in ROH. There was no clear-cut gimmicks. You know, when you did have people like in the Embassy with Prince Nana and all that, which, you know, great showman as well. I'm putting some of these old talents over from ROH of yesteryear. They used to do a great job, and the crowd used to hate on them. But they were like the best parts of the show. And that's how you knew that was the good shit, because all these marks in the crowd. I remember that, you know, probably the best thing I saw, and I don't think it's on camera, is like, what did they have, like Final Battle in 2005? You had CM Punk and Daniel Bryan in a 2-on-3 handicap match against the Embassy. And then after that, you know, I went to this show. There was a big snowstorm. CM Punk finally told this neckbeard in the crowd to shut his fucking face. And I remember, you know, he had this great joke. The guy had like a goatee, and he said to him, "Is that a goatee or is that a target for your boyfriend?" So it was great to see that. I wish we could get that in WWE. This is what I'm saying when I say Roman Reigns should flip the crowd off or tell them to shut up. I mean, for God's sakes, you know, you already could tell what would work in the indies and what would work on the big stage. All I'm saying is Bryan doesn't need to do all that stuff. So then they like kick him in the head. Then Kevin Owens fucking slamming him down on his back. You seen the whiplash with the fucking neck right on the ring apron. I'm like, holy Moses. I mean, I don't know, guys. Like, Bryan better be fucking careful. Go back and watch this. And I mean, I know he's fully cleared and whatever the case may be, but I don't know. You heard about the Legion on his brain and all that, and now you're going to just throw him back out there. I don't know about this. I don't think it's a very good idea at all. I wouldn't recommend putting him out there to do all this shit, because I don't think he's going to last long. If they keep doing this, it's going to last about as long as his last return, a few months. Because if he's that injury prone, I mean, why would they not take it easy? I don't get it. Like, they used to, you know, during the Attitude Era, you had big spots and stuff like that, but they were, you know, few and far between. They felt special, and they didn't need to do that back then. So why do they feel like they need to do that now, unless it's compensating because they know they got to do that because they don't have much else going for them? All I'm saying is that they might want to take it easy if they want to keep Bryan around for a while. I mean, it took this long to get him back. I mean, after he gets injured again, I don't think he's coming back after that. I'm just saying. Anyway, guys, this has been your YWC champ. It's been your SmackDown review, and I'm signing out.